Chapter 5 is officially over, and let me just say, wow. This might be a bit of a controversial opinion, but this is probably one of my top 3 chapters of all time. There's a lot of new things added and a lot of really interesting item choices, but in the end, this was definitely one of my most favorite chapters. Before we do get into the video, I want to ask everybody to use Connor331 in the item shop. And if you want a chance to win next season's battle pass, make sure to pop into my stream. I'm literally live all weekend streaming the new season. So starting off with chapter 5 season 1, there was a lot of new changes with this new season. We got a new map with 11 POIs, we got sewers, we got a train, and even weapon mods and mod benches. I personally think that the mod benches were awesome additions to the game, and I'm kind of hoping that we're going to be able to see something like that inside of chapter 6. Although none of those mentioned items were as controversial as the new movement and the wall climbing. There was a lot of people who were extremely unhappy with this decision by Epic, and I won't lie, in the beginning I wasn't a fan of it either. I'm going to be honest though, with time I got used to it. Epic Games even decided to speed up the movement, and people were still finding reasons to complain about it, which I find pretty ridiculous. It's been a year since then, and there are still people upset and angry about that, and to those people, I'm just gonna tell y'all to grow up. Y'all are just acting like clowns, bro. In this season, they also introduced medallions, which did manage to stick around for the entire chapter and brought us a lot of mythic guns. This was also the beginning of Fortnite Festival, Rocket Racing, and Lego Fortnite. Fortnite Festival was fun when it came out. I bought a couple of songs and played with my friends. Rocket Racing was never really fun. And Lego Fortnite kind of gave off like those Minecraft phase vibes that you would get every couple of months. For the most part though, I can't complain. The loot pool was pretty good. My favorite weapon was probably the Reaper sniper rifle because of just the insane shots that you could hit with it. I do want to talk a little bit about hit scan weapons. So every gun in Fortnite, besides I think sniper rifles, were hit scan up until chapter 5. And I understand where people were coming from. It was harder to hit shots in the beginning, but I honestly think that it was a great addition. I think it requires you to have better aiming skills, and you have to be better at the game to be able to hit shots, especially at long distance. I would say the most controversial item of this season was probably the Frenzy Auto Shotgun. Countless pros complained about this gun constantly, and I won't lie, I was not a fan of it that much, and it didn't require very much skill to use. I personally didn't have much of a problem with this season because I was pretty much just getting back into Fortnite. It was kind of nice because it felt like I was getting into a game that was almost new. It was like a fresher version of Fortnite. In the end, I would rate it a solid 8 out of 10 because I didn't really like the battle pass that much, and I had no idea what was going on in the storyline. Now, chapter 5 season 2 was an interesting one. Off the bat, I was extremely annoyed with this season. So for me, seasons usually drop between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. Central. Well, this season was dropping on my birthday. I was doing an all-day stream ready to play Fortnite, and the season didn't drop until 10 p.m. that night. I still stayed up till like 4 a.m. that night playing the new season, but it was just really annoying and really sucked that this happened. But with this new season, there were 5 new POIs added, and there was also the addition of bunkers and the underworld dashes, both of which I feel were great additions to the game and made it that much better. There was also a good amount of weapons added, as well as new medallions, which again brought new mythics. I really had no problem with the loot pool at all until I found out about the lightning bolts. I know for a fact that nobody liked these at least the first week or two until Epic Games finally decided to fix them. Because when a lightning bolt would hit your wall, right, and then it would do damage to you while you're behind the wall, like, that is the stupidest thing in existence of Fortnite. Luckily, they balanced it and made it to where it doesn't break every build and it doesn't hit through builds anymore, which pretty much fixed that entire problem. There was honestly a good amount of things to complain about this season. I mean, the lightning bolts and the wings being the main ones, they were just extremely annoying. You couldn't use wings unless you wanted to get beamed out of the sky, but other people would use wings and then just smash right into your box, and it was just insane. I'm gonna be honest though, I didn't like the battle pass that much again, and I had absolutely no idea how Greek mythology is fitting in with Fortnite. It just doesn't really sit right in my head. It doesn't make sense to me. So in the end, I would rate this season a 6 out of 10, mainly just because of the Thunderbolts. Now, Chapter 5, Season 3 might have been the most controversial season of this chapter. The main addition to the game being cars, and not just regular cars, but cars with spiked bumpers, miniguns, and rocket launchers. But there were 4 new named locations added to the game, which again gave us new medallions with new mythics. I'm not gonna lie, at first there were like over a million things to complain about in the season for at least the first couple of weeks to the first month. There was the cars, there was the boom bolt, there was the nitro fist, the nitro effect, and it was really just ridiculous. By the end of the season though, they pretty much balanced out all of this and made it playable. I would say though, once you learned how to use all of these items to your advantage, it did make the game a lot more fun to play. I do think it's kind of interesting that Epic Games decided to almost completely change their game to almost car-based only at one point. The game did get a lot better though once they fixed and balanced most of these problems. By the end of the season, I learned to just enjoy using the cars while they were in the game, and now I'm not gonna lie, I really do miss the nitro effect. I feel like this season, the season's storyline was a little bit easier to understand, and it made it really easy to merge with the following season. So altogether, with the rough start this season had, I would give it an 8 out of 10. If there wasn't the problems at the beginning of the season with cars, boom bolt, nitro fist, all of it, this season could have been a 9 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10. It could have been a perfect season in my eyes. Now finally, we are on to Chapter 5, Season 4. It's honestly crazy to think that this chapter had only 4 seasons that lasted us the entire year. I'm not sure why, but in the past Marvel seasons, I never really seemed to enjoy them. But this one, luckily, was a little bit different. I did start to enjoy this season a lot towards like the halfway point. So there were 4 new POIs added to the game, which also brought with them new medallions and new mythics. The season also brought back some familiar items as well as some new items. I'm not gonna lie, like the first day to first week of this season, I hated it. The War Machine arsenal was actually terrible to fight against, and the hover jets made pretty much any build fight anyone's game because you could just fly straight up in the air up to height. I do want to say that instead of taking the hover jets out of competitive and out of the game in general, I think they should have had like a fuel meter or like a battery meter or something, and like a max height you could fly up to. That way you can't just fly straight up all the way to the top of the fights, and so you couldn't do the crazy like dashes all around the map non-stop. I think the easiest fix for the hover jets would have been adding that, and then as well as not making them rechargeable, right? So you have like this much of the bar, and once you use it, it doesn't go back up. That way you can't just spam and just use it the entire game. I really didn't have any problems in pubs. I feel like the main issue this season was in competitive. That's because after they decided to remove hover jets, there was literally no mobility in the game besides flow berries and then launch pads that were already on the map. There were also dashes that did help periodically. By the end of the season, it wasn't a huge deal because everybody got used to it, but it does suck because there is literally no rotation besides Flowberry Fizz when you're playing late game in a tournament. Everyone was extremely excited for the Stark rifles to make an appearance back in the game, and I'm not gonna lie, we were all extremely let down. The Iron Man flight kit and combat kit were kind of insane, one of them having literal aimbot, but luckily they weren't in comp, so it really wasn't too big of a problem. The chainsaw though, that is where I have a problem. So with the chainsaw, they brought the witch broom, and the witch broom really wasn't too terrible. I don't think it's very cool how it could break armored walls. And then whenever the witch broom was first brought into the game, it could break through all the builds above it. But then towards the end of the season, it breaks only one build, and I didn't know that, and I couldn't get used to it, and I would just really mess myself up. The chainsaw was just a huge problem though, being able to just cut straight through armored walls. Like, the point of having armored walls was so you could be protected for a bit of time, and the chainsaw being able to get rid of them in less than 5 seconds was ridiculous. And if somebody managed to get into your box with a chainsaw, you were dead, because the way that they swing and like just their movement and the animation, there was literally no way that you would be able to hit them enough times with any of your guns to kill them, because they're just swinging. I think to fix these 2 items, they should have made the witch broom not instantly break something like the armored walls, but maybe do half health to it. I think that the witch broom should have still been able to break through like 2 layers of wood, and the chainsaw just needed to have lower damage, because I want to say it was hitting for between 45 and like 75 to 80. I'm pretty surprised that they kept both of these in the game as long as they did. I know they were only added in just now for Fortnite mares, but with the amount of complaints that there were, I'm pretty surprised. In the end though, I did enjoy the season a lot, and I'm gonna say that it was probably my favorite season of the chapter. The Battle Pass being Marvel themed was pretty sweet, and most of the storyline this entire season added up with last season, and it makes a lot of sense how it's going to help transfer over into the remix season, so I'm really excited for that. I would end with giving this season a 9 out of 10. Now, with all of the ups and downs that this chapter had, it is still definitely one of my top 3 chapters of all time, and I'm not gonna lie, it's really close to second. Let me know what y'all's ranking is in the comments down below, but my number 1 is always gonna be chapter 1. You can't beat chapter 1. Chapter 1 was peak Fortnite. I enjoyed OG season so much, it was the best time for the game. At number 2, I think I want to slide in chapter 5, and that is because it was 4 seasons and everything matched up. I don't know, it just felt really good. Versus chapter 2, which would be my 3rd slot, my previous 2nd slot. I loved the first half of chapter 2, and then they completely lost me in the second half. I hated the all water map. I barely played to the Marvel season. I got my Fortnite account hacked. Chapter 2 just brings back bad memories, and I just do not enjoy it as much as I enjoyed chapter 5. And then chapter 3 and 4 are not even on this ranking because chapter 3 I didn't play at all. When I did, it was complete garbage. I think that was the primal season and all that just random stuff. And then chapter 4 was a lot of fun. Towards the end, that's when I started playing. I didn't play throughout the beginning or the middle. I came like the last season before OG. I don't really have enough information from chapter 3 or 4 to accurately rank them. So that's why I would go chapter 1, chapter 5, and then chapter 2. I think it was really fun that in chapter 5, they incorporated all these new mechanics and the medallions and all the new types of guns and stuff. And I'm extremely excited to see what chapter 6 is going to be like. In the end, I would rate this entire chapter, I think it's like an average 8 out of 10. That's out of every ranking I did for the 4 seasons inside of this chapter. Anyways, guys, that is going to wrap up the video. By the time y'all are watching this, I'm going to be live streaming the new season or the day before the new season or something like that, and I'm going to be giving away a battle pass to a lucky viewer. Don't forget to use Connor331 in the item shop and let me know in the comments what y'all thought about this chapter. I hope everybody has an amazing rest of their day, and I will see y'all in the next one.